Family disputes can get real messy, especially when step-siblings and family favourites are involved, and that's exactly what's going on in today's first episode. G'day there guys, it's your main man Markee, and welcome back to another episode of r/AmITheA. Now, if you love today's bloody good content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and get ready for some bloody good content. Let's go. Am I the asshole for moving out when my stepsister ruined my Father's Day gift for my dad? So I, female 16, live with my mum, stepdad and stepsister, 18, and stepbrother, who is 20. I lost my dad to cancer when I was 13 years old. We were very close, and his death was a major loss in my life. I wasn't able to keep much of his belongings because of my stepdad's insecurities and lack of sympathy and respect for me and my dad. It's sad to say that mum moved on relatively fast. My stepsister and I share a room together, as my stepbrother has the biggest room because he's a man, and as a result, me and my stepsister are always in conflict. She wants me out during the day, as she uses the room as her art studio. She recently accused me of stealing her tools and convinced her dad to get a lock, so now I'm being forcefully locked out and can't get in till after a huge argument and getting mum involved. My stepsister had an argument with her brother and ruined his gaming console when he was out. He came into the room quietly in the evening, stood by the door, and asked me to bring him my stepsister's acrylic paint set. I asked if he got permission and he said yes, so I gave it to him and went back to study. At dinner, my stepsister came downstairs yelling that her brother had access to her room and ruined her paint set. There was a lot of yelling and arguing, and stepdad asked how my stepbrother walked into the room when it was supposed to be locked. My stepbrother admitted that I helped him out and brought the paint set to him. My stepsister went off on me, called me an accomplice, and then ran upstairs and took the gift that I prepared for my dad for Father's Day. I picked up flowers that I planted from our small garden that I take care of by myself, and I also prepared a nice wooden letter-shaped pot, used my dad's first initial, and filled it with the flowers that I picked and decorated it with ribbons. It wasn't that good, but it was like a floral letter. I planned to visit his grave and put the gift there. She damaged it to pieces. It was completely ruined. I yelled at her and kept crying. Mum and stepdad gave her harsh punishments and thought that it was fixable, but I was so done. So I called my uncle, who then came and berated my mum and stepdad. Stepdad offered to fix it and punish my stepdaughter harder, but I packed my things to go with my uncle. My mum begged me to stay, but I refused and didn't respond, when she kept calling saying she did nothing to deserve to be shunned by me and my uncle, who told the family about what happened. The family told mum not to come visit on Father's Day and are angry with her because I moved out over this. Am I the asshole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I think that I may have made things worse by moving out. Now my mum's family are mad at her. She's mad at my stepdad and stepsister, and the whole family is in conflict because of me moving out, though I could have agreed to get it fixed and let it go. To be fair, I don't think this is your problem to be dealing with, and moving out is completely fair in this situation. Yeah, it caused conflict, but it'd be so much worse for you if you stayed there. These step-siblings are nothing but trouble, and it's obvious that this family wants to do nothing to actually resolve it. They'd rather just let it continue and try to fix itself, and that's obviously not going to happen. The writing on the wall was, you had to change something, or change was never going to happen. These problems are probably just going to keep snowballing, and that's not a fun world to be living in. So yeah, you did the right thing here. It doesn't matter that it started some more bullcrap in their lives. Let them all be miserable together. I'm going to go with not the a-hole. Now in the comments, Naranghim says, not the a-hole. Your mum failed you. She failed to take your feelings into account after your dad died, failed to stand up to her husband when he failed to respect you and your dad, and failed to protect you from his daughter and her unreasonable demands. The only thing both of them did right was punishing your stepsister for destroying the Father's Day gift that you made. That isn't enough to make up for all the other crap. If you stayed, I think your stepsister would have found some way to punish you for getting her in trouble for destroying the gift that you made. Stay away if you can, and yes, your mother deserves to be in trouble with the rest of the family for everything that has happened to you. Agree with one small modification, quote, for everything that has happened to you. No, for allowing everything that has happened to you, not the a-hole. She's done nothing to deserve to be shunned by me, except, ignore OP, allow SS to abuse OP, allow SD to be sexist to both of them, SB gets the bigger room because he's a man, what the hell? Disregarded OP's feelings at every turn, and allowed SD to get rid of her father's things she wanted to keep. She's right. She has done nothing. Absolutely nothing she should have done to avoid this outcome, which surely would have come the day OP turned 18 anyway. Ashes B77 says, not the a-hole. Being locked out of your room is unacceptable. While your stepfamily is awful, it's your mum who is the real a-hole. She should be advocating and standing up for you. Being locked out and not getting to keep your dad's stuff is completely on her. I'm sure she had no problem spending or getting your stepdad to agree to keep any SS benefit that she gets for your dad having passed away. I'm still trying to wrap my head around any sane mother who would allow their daughter to be locked out of their bedroom for any length of time. I've heard of removing the door or lock, which is still not cool, but locking them out? Wow, not the a-hole. And passenger OK6675 says, not the a-hole. I'm so sorry that you lost your dad, and I'm sorry that you have an insensitive mum. If you can stay with your uncle, I would. Your mum has not considered your feelings regarding your father, and the fact that she does nothing about how your stepfather and stepsister treat you is truly awful. Keep your distance. Our next post is by user Kayla04, titled, Am I the a-hole for kicking my sister out of my home after she told me it was karma that I can't have kids? So I, female 32, have been trying to get pregnant for 7 years now and have been unsuccessful. Diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome later in life, I've had 5 miscarriages that have taken a massive toll on my physical and mental health. It has left me feeling like a massive failure, as my partner, male 36, desperately wants children, and I'm unable to give him this. He never makes me feel badly about it, but I know he's upset. His parents are in ill health, and they want grandchildren more than anything. Recently, I had a massive argument with my sister, female 34, after my last miscarriage. I was upset and asking her why this kept happening to me. She shrugged and said it was probably to do with the abortion I had when I was 19. And honestly, I was gobsmacked at how nonchalant she sounded. She knew there had been health reasons behind it and had been supportive at the time. I'd been so poorly that I needed an operation and had spent months recovering. Also, she knows how guilty I felt that I was unable to carry to full term. I asked her what she had meant, and she said that our decisions always come back to haunt us, and that I needed to understand that I'd brought it on myself. That some people just weren't meant to have children, and it was God's way of telling us to stop. She wasn't being mean, just blunt, but my hormones were all over the place, and I ended up kicking her out of my house and telling her not to contact me again. Soon after, I got loads of phone calls from my other sister, mum and dad, and even my sister's husband, basically saying that I had overreacted and was being an asshole. That I had to make things right and apologize. I refused and haven't spoken to any of them since. My partner doesn't want her back in the house anytime soon after what she said. Am I the a-hole for agreeing with him over my family? That wasn't an overreaction. I think you reacted the right way in this situation. She obviously went and gave a biased account to everyone else to make you seem like the asshole in this situation, which you were not. I think that if you call everyone back and explain the situation, hopefully they can understand where you're coming from and where she's coming from, which is a place of very much negativity and bias and opinions that I don't agree with. You say she wasn't being mean, just blunt. No, she was being a blunt asshole. She was being mean by saying that. There's like the cold hard truth that you gotta tell some people in your life that's like, it's gonna hurt your feelings, but this is what you need to hear. But as a third party looking in on this situation, that's absolutely not what you say, even in those situations. That's just cruel what she said to you. Jesus Christ. Not the a-hole OP. That would be grounds for me to just completely cut her out of my life for a good few years. Now in the comments, Evocative Enigma says, Not the a-hole. You don't ever say something like that to someone. If she wasn't on the lease or paying rent at all, you have every right to kick her out. She's an adult. She can figure out her own living situation without having to room with people she thinks so lowly of. By the way, I am so sorry that you're having difficulties. I wish you all the best in the future for a large, happy family. And that's the thing, I don't think the sister was even living with OP at all. The vibe I got from this is that she was merely visiting, especially because sister's husband was also mentioned. There's all this hullabaloo from the family over making her leave a house that she was visiting. I couldn't tell if it was meant as a roommate or guest situation and didn't want to assume, but her not being on a lease covers both bases. Person on the lease can kick out whoever they want if she's just a guest. Either way, she's a massive and manipulative asshole who probably told a way different story to the family to act like she didn't say something completely atrocious to warrant getting the boots in the first place. Not the a-hole times 1,000. She is evil and completely lacking empathy towards you. Don't apologize and don't take anything back, and keep her out and anyone who takes her side. I think OP needs to tell her family that our decisions always come back to haunt us, and that sister needs to understand that she brought this on herself. Some people just weren't meant to be allowed in OP's house. And Madison Green says, not the a-hole. A miscarriage is not something you should try to guilt a woman about. That's messed up, and she was out of line. Her being kicked out was karma. Say evil things, suffer the consequences. Karma doesn't even work that way. Your actions in this life affect you in the next life. I hope that the sister's next life reflects how she treated OP. I have PCOS, fought infertility, and had multiple losses. I empathize with you, OP. What your sister said was cruel, irrational, and flat out incorrect, but if you're anything like me, a wiggling doubt may have slipped into your head. Let me help you get rid of it. A double abortion saved my son's life. I was pregnant with triplets, and 2 of them had serious problems. They weren't going to make it to term. They weren't going to make it to viability. To save the healthy baby, I had a multi-fetal pregnancy reduction. The healthy baby is now an angsty tween. Go ask your sister to explain that. Abortions don't cause miscarriages. No matter how hard anti-choice advocates desperately wish it was true, abortions don't cause miscarriages. Do not let your sister's cruel, insidious words sneak into your head. You didn't do this. Your sister was being needlessly cruel. Our next post is by user Throwaway AmITheA 700, titled, Am I the asshole for getting pissed off that everyone else gets the food they want but me, and leaving because of it? So I just got home from a hangout with a bunch of people. There's 10 of us. We each brought $25. We all knew what we would want and added all up for a tip for the delivery driver to pull together for food. Everything was great until it was time to order for food. I was in the bathroom when they started, and by the time I got out, they had ordered all they wanted. I told the host what I wanted: a medium ultimate cheese lovers pizza, an order of breadsticks, and 3 extra marinara sauces from Pizza Hut. It came to $21.88. I made sure that it was under the $25 that I brought. The host then looked at me and said we didn't have enough, and I would have to not get the breadsticks and extra sauce. When I asked why, as I was under what I brought, they informed me that John had added an extra dessert to his order last minute, and that had put him past his $25. When I asked why he going over his limit made me have to change my order and get less food, I was told, it's not a big deal, you still get your pizza. So, I didn't order any food and just took my $25 back and I left, which made them not have enough for a tip. So the host and a couple of people are now bitching at me for not only ruining the atmosphere of the hangout, but also making the host pay more out of pocket because they had to cover the tip as I took my money back. Small update, found out John is the nephew of host's boss. Well, that just gives even more credence to me to say that not the a-hole. I can understand why he would want to put John at the forefront here and let John have what he wants at the sacrifice of you and your food. But that is really not cool, especially at a gathering where it should just be about getting along, being friendly, and having a good time. He should have just told his boss John, hey man, you're gonna have to pay a little bit more if you want this. Not, hey, it's cool John, do whatever you want, I'm just gonna screw over the other people here. That shows that I'm gonna put you first, give me a promotion please, John. Those aren't the kind of people that I want to hang out with, in all honesty. That's just me being jaded, that's my personal opinion. Everyone is free to their own ideas and opinions about social hangouts. So I'm gonna go with not the a-hole. Now in the comments, Tibbletabs1114 says, not the a-hole. The person going over the $25 limit is the only person who should have gotten chewed out. Also, these selfish people are not being your friends. They tried to use you and got mad when you wouldn't be used. Seriously, the other person should have at least paid for the amount they went over so no one else's order was affected. Good on OP for dipping, not the a-hole. This would be the logical choice. As much as a pain in the ass as it is sometimes, this is why separate checks are a thing in restaurants. Not to mention they were already rude as hell by ordering while OP was in the bathroom and just assuming they'd be the ones to sacrifice for them. Plus, if John went over his $25, that means he also chose to eat into the server's tip. Not just eat into OP's budget. So he was already being more than selfish. That should have made the group censure him before OP even made it back to the table. Yeah, it doesn't make sense that they let him go over. Not real friends. Yeah, but the edit makes it make more sense. Screw the host then. They're being absolute assholes trying to pass on the extra cost to OP. I agree not the a-hole, and hindsight is 2020, but I may have handled it differently. It seems like the simplest solution strangely didn't occur to anyone, OP included. Say something like, oh okay, John went over? That's cool. He can just kick in an extra $10. Spur of the moment, OP did fine, but it would have been beautiful to see the host and John try to handle that response. Sylphie Star says, not the a-hole. It's so painfully obvious that John should have coughed up more money to pay for his food. Him saying that you still got your pizza, as though it was no problem he jacked money from you, makes him the a-hole. Your friends suck here too. They should have stopped John or told him to pay up. How they're treating you is crappy. John is definitely at fault for going over in the first place. Best case, he stole from the tip jar and he knew it, but it isn't clear that he knew the host decided to rob OP on his behalf. Edit. OP said he did know. This kind of thing is why I hate group food orders at work. There's always that one asshole, at least, who can't do the math that screws it up for the organizer, making them cover overage or a decent tip. It's not the poor driver's fault. They live on these tips and need them. But by not calculating something, they stick it to the person receiving the food to cover a decent tip in order to not look like an asshole. If you're a working adult, you should have a better understanding of the crappy side of the service industry, and understand that $1 is not a good enough tip. Posted by user CSPHCT, titled, Am I the a-hole for kicking my roommate's girlfriend's kid out of my bed? I don't even care who sees. I came home from work tonight to find my roommate's girlfriend's kid in my bed. I don't care that he has guests over, but my number one rule is to respect my stuff and my space. There was another bed free in the kids' room, so I told her to go sleep in that one and give mine back. Roommate is pissed, saying that I should have slept in the kids' bed myself, and left a child to sleep. I told him he knew I was going to be back tonight, and where my bed was. He shouldn't be putting his guests up in my space. So am I the a-hole? Edit. The kid didn't sneak into the wrong room or anything, they put her there on purpose. And edit 2, now that I'm more awake and less angry, her kid is 5, roommate and I share a kid, no romantic strings for over a decade, this is absolutely not the issue. I've never had issues with him bringing his girl around here until it started putting me out of my own space, and our son is 10. There's a kid's room with 3 beds, 2 free. Roommate's room is downstairs, my and kids' room are upstairs across the house right next to each other, so it wasn't so they could get a privacy to bang. I wasn't rude or mean to the kids. I just said, hey, go sleep in the kids' room. I don't think your mum knew that it was my bed. She did. This living arrangement is temporary, and trust me, I'm trying to move out ASAP. This market is not forgiving though. The fact that I was yelled at for wanting my own bed is purely what brought me here. Because roommate has zero awareness for when he's possibly in the wrong. So petty me would like to show him how 500 strangers disagree. Thank you. And edit 3, roommate and his girlfriend broke up. Hopefully this won't be an issue again. Not the a-hole. When they realized the kid fell asleep in your bed, they should have moved said kid to the kid's room. How little are they even watching the kid if they fell asleep and didn't know where? And OP replies, they put her in my bed on purpose. Not the a-hole, but why would they ever think that it's okay to put their kid to sleep in your bed? That's weird. I think it's worse than weird. How the hell can they know what has happened in OP's bed and the last time the sheets were cleaned? And even more important, who knows where the kid has been and what nasty germs and viruses they carry and spread, or if they're even housebroken. Not the a-hole, but consider locking your door when you're out to prevent it happening again. Kids aren't exactly well known for respecting people's rules and boundaries, no matter how often they are repeated or how reasonable they are. They put the kid in my bed on purpose. It wasn't just that the kid stumbled upon my bed first or something. That's just weird. Why does the kid have a bed if they're going to put him in your bed? Sounds like one or both of you needs to look for a new place to live, because that's not going to work out. And Lilacs Kitties says, not the a-hole. Why did they think it was alright to let a child, that's not yours or related to you, sleep in your bed when they knew that you were coming home that night? Apparently, since I take naps on the couch, they expected me to just sleep on the couch, even though it was originally just sleep in the kid's bed. There was a kid's bed available for her in another room. This was a power play to exert their authority on you. They want to see what they can get away with and how much they can walk all over you. Don't waver in shutting down such nonsense. That's another possibility that I thought of. They may even be trying to make OP want to move so they can have the place to themselves. You know, instead of being adults and having a conversation about it. And OP replies, they're hesitating because they've been together for a whole 2 weeks, so they'd rather just inconvenience me. 2 weeks and she's staying over with her kid? How trashy. Oh, she was staying over with her kid when they were just fuck buddies. The girlfriend status didn't happen until about 3 days ago. Holy crap, that's a lot to unpack. Oh my god, why would you even bring your kid to your screw buddy? That's so weird. And it also seems inconvenient when there's a kid around. The kids also played and slept with his 3 kids, so they bonded and everything over an F-buddy like, hey bud, you make good decisions.